Hello everybody. Are you looking for success with your shrimp tank? The best and easiest path I have found for having a successful shrimp tank is to keep your shrimp in natural planted aquariums. Now, many people might get spooked when they hear that they need to keep live plants, but rest assured, it really is pretty easy when you get pointed in the right direction. And that is what I want to do in this video. Point you guys in the right direction to understanding lights and plants in your shrimp tanks. Why should I grow plants in my shrimp tank, and why is it good for the shrimp? That's what you may be asking. Not only do plants look good and make our tank look natural and give our shrimp places to hide, feel safe, and graze, but most important role plants play in our planted shrimp tanks is that they act as live biological filters. See, shrimp are more sensitive to ammonia and nitrate and other excess nutrients than what your most common fish are. Plants convert the excess nutrients in our planted shrimp tanks to growth. So again, not only are plants growing an added plus as far as making our tanks look cool and awesome and giving our shrimp a natural environment, but they also perform a vital role in the tank's filtration by removing excess nutrients that are detrimental to our shrimp. The three main points I want to get across to you guys in this video are light intensity, which means how bright of a light we need, photo period, which means how long we leave our lights on every day, and finally, what are some of the easiest, most hassle-free plants to grow. The first thing we're going to talk about is light intensity. There are all kinds of different ratings when it comes to lights, but the purpose of this video is not to bore you with all the details, but to keep it simple. The most important aspect of knowing what kind of light you need is the temperature, which is measured in Kelvin, and the brightness, which is measured in lumens and par, but we'll just call it color and power. So you got that. The color is the kelvins and the power is lumens and watts, and the color is not important, especially if you're getting a light marketed for growing plants. I've always had pretty good luck with lights that are rated 6500 Kelvin, which is known as daylight in the color rating. When it comes to power, we must remember that a natural planted tank is all about balance. That means that we do not want a super bright light when it comes to our low light, low tech planted shrimp tanks. I personally find the happy zone to be about 1 watt per gallon for most tanks, with the exception being very small tanks or tanks that are as tall as a standard 75 gallon tank and taller. For very small 2 gallon tanks, I don't think a 2 watt light would grow anything. And the taller the tank, the further away the light will be from the bottom, which means you need a more powerful light. I keep my shrimp in bigger tanks than most people, but I have had good success with 20 watts of LED power of lights on 20 gallon tanks and 40 watts on 40 gallon breeder tanks. I would not go much below 10 watt even for the smallest tanks, because as I said before, a 2 watt light on a 2 gallon nano tank probably isn't enough light to grow much. Remember, there is much more to this than I just stated, but about 1 to 2 watts of LED light per gallon is more than enough light to grow the types of low light plants we want in our shrimp tanks. The next super important thing I want to cover when it comes to lights in our planted shrimp tanks is photo period. The term photo period simply refers to the amount of time you have your lights on. The whole reason I wanted to make this video talking about lights and plants in our balanced planted shrimp tanks is to talk about how long we have our lights on. I wanted to take the time to talk about the most important factor when it involves photo period, and that is you've got to have a light timer for the sake of consistency. I've helped lots of people with shrimp tank issues, and when I get questions regarding algae, the first question I ask is, what kind of light do you have and how long do you have the light on each day? To my surprise, many people say they turn it on whenever they think of it and shut it off when they go to bed. So there is no set time. If there is no set variable as to how long the light is left on, then you do not know how long you need to have the light on. Helped a lady the other day that was wondering why her once beautiful shrimp tank was now a complete algae disaster after being gone on a 10-day vacation. First thing I asked was about her lights and if they got left on. She said probably because she has someone else take care of her tank while she was gone. A timer on your lights is an absolute necessity. If you have steady, consistent amount of time the lights are on each day, then you know if you need to keep it the same, shorten it, or even lengthen it. So you may be asking, all right, dude, spit it out. How long do I need to have my lights on for? Well, the short answer to that question is that it depends. It simply depends. If you have higher power light, then your photo period will not need to be as long. If you have a less powerful light, then your light may need to be left on longer. The whole point of having a timer on your lights is so that you can see where you stand with a steady parameter to go by. So let's say we've been leaving our lights on for 8 hours a day. If you have algae problems, then the first and easiest way to try and fix it is by simply changing the amount of time that the lights are on. If you're not getting the kind of plant growth you want, then maybe try leaving the lights on a bit longer. If you have no idea where to start, I suggest starting out around 6 hours and then adjust as needed. Alright everybody, so as you can see here, this is the app just started, so it had to turn everything on. Everything's already turned on. So this is my app I have in my phone with my smart outlets. I use smart outlets. Now you can use mechanical timers. Now when I talk about lights being on for a certain amount, depending on how bright your light is. So for example, my Bloody Mary pond, we open up this thing, and the schedule here, you can see every day, these are the two switches. It comes on at 5:30 p.m. every day. And then another switch is 11:30 p.m. it shuts off. And that is every day, as you can see there. Let's back out of here. Then we have the living room green jade 75 gallon. Now I've been cutting back the hours the lights are on this one because I just got the new bright lights. This one comes on at 5:30 every day and shuts off at 11. The 25 gallon Panda tank has lower light on it, and so you can see here it comes on, and I got this backwards, but it comes on every day at 4:30 p.m. and shuts off at 1:30 a.m. and that tank is just perfectly happy as can be at that. It may sound like a lot of hours to leave the light on, but that's what works for that tank. Every tank is different, and this is why you need to know exactly how long your light is on every day. The Guppy Pond. Let's see what the schedule is for this. This one is only on 4 hours a day. It comes on at 7 and shuts off at 11. That one has a lot of light on it, and I'm always battling algae problems, so I keep cutting back the light, and now I've got it manageable. And so you get the idea what's going on here. The fish room closet, that's where most of my tanks are. 5:30 p.m. when it comes on, shuts off at 11:10. I've been playing with that one too because I've got a bunch of new lights. So, and another fun thing about this is I don't even have to be home connected to my Wi-Fi. When I worked out of town and stayed in hotels, I used to have fun messing with my wife. I'd be sitting in a hotel room and I would shut one of the lights or one of the tanks off and on, and she'd hurry up and call me. What's going on? The tank light's messing up on the such and such. And I was like, I'm just messing with you. So if you're on vacation, you can check and see, like right now, all these lights, they're all scheduled to be on right now. And if I want to shut right now, the whole fish room closet just shut off, and boom, it's back on. Easy as that. So now let's talk about easy plants. As with all my videos aimed at beginners, I like to point people in the direction of having the easiest path to success possible. That is why I have been talking about low light, low tech plants for our shrimp tanks. Fact of the matter is, low light planted tanks are much easier to keep than tanks with high light. The brighter the light, the faster the plants grow. If you have too much of a light, and your plants suck all the nutrients out of the water, then you are faced with having to add fertilizers to keep up with the plants growing because of the bright light. The brighter the light, the faster the plants want to grow, and the more nutrients the plants will need to grow. If you do not add fertilizers with a bright light setup, then you will end up with nutrient imbalances. See, plants need all the nutrients to grow. For example, let's say a certain plant needs 17 nutrients to grow properly. Then say it runs out of one, but still has plenty of the other 16. The problem is the plant needs all 17. It can't grow with just 16. So now the plant starts dying, and the 16 other nutrients are quickly turned into algae growth. Now that's just a super simplified example that I think it makes it pretty easy to understand. Usually the first nutrient that runs out and causes imbalances that lead to algae blooms and higher light setups is carbon dioxide. So for our little balanced planted shrimp tanks, it is best to go with low light plants that are easy to keep happy. You can see I have plenty of decently lush plant growth in my tanks. I add 0 fertilizers. My tanks with I light my tanks with 1 to 1.5 watts of LED light, and these are the plants I have the most success with. In my opinion, the most important plant any shrimp tank can have is some kind of moss. Now, for me, I've tried several different mosses in the past, and they don't die, but they just don't really grow. So for me and my water, and what I'm trying to do, I have found that this pilo moss is unbelievable, and it is pretty much in every single one of my tanks other than a few. And if you look really close, look at all the surface area this moss, if I can get the focus, gives to the shrimp to graze on. And if you look super close, you'll be able to see that all this moss is full of little baby shrimp. Not as many as normally because I have food thrown out and they're all trying to chase down the food. But you can see there's lots of baby shrimp. And another one that you can see in here is the different kinds of anubiases. Now, these plants grow super slow, so they're not the best at removing nutrients out of the water column and being a biological filter, but they do grow and they do help some. Now we'll talk about heavy root feeders. With these plants, you do need some kind of fertilizer in the substrate. Now I like to use Joe's plant spikes for my super heavy root feeders. And the trick with those is to get them all the way underneath the substrate so that they're completely covered. And you can tell these are Vallisneria. There's some spiral val mixed in here too. And it spreads by runners, but it is a heavy root feeding plant, and it does really good for me. And another heavy root feeding plant that is one of my personal favorites is crypts. Cryptocorns. This is a brown crypt. Take a look at that guy right there. That's one of my favorite plants. And then here in my shrimp pond, I have a bunch more crypts. These are called Florida Sunset Crypts, which is a variant of the Cryptocorn Wendeti. And this is in my Bloody Mary shrimp pond. Now let's talk about some stem plants. Now stem plants, the problem you're going to run into is stem plants are a little more demanding with light than like moss and crypts and stuff like that. But this tank was really struggling, and I loaded it up. It's got this is a 40-gallon breeder tank, and I put this 40-gallon light on here, and these Rotella were really struggling hard, just barely even staying alive, and the bottoms were bare because only the leaves, it was only growing up high up towards the light. And then I put this new light on here, and look what this has done. It started sending out side shoots off the bottom to spread, and now those are turning into new plants that I'm sure this Rotala will eventually take over this whole side of the tank. And then right next door to the tank next to that, we have our Skittles tank. And we've got Rotala coming out our ears in this one. And there is a giant Cryptowind Deadeye in the back with lots and lots of moss. There's going to be a video about this tank and the work I need to do with it. Managing the tanks coming up soon. So I'm closing out this video. The bottom line is, if you have a successful natural planted tank where plants are growing good and are turning excess nutrients into new leaves and stems, then you are providing your shrimp with the best biological chemical filter there is. Remember, you need enough light to get plants to grow. I've had some old lights that lost their brightness over the years recently. And in those tanks, my plant growth slowed down, and so did my shrimp breeding populations. I got brighter new lights, and the plants started taking off immediately, and so did the shrimp. With new brighter lights, I started running into a few tanks with algae problems. So then, because I have light timers, I knew exactly how long my lights were on per day. That allowed me to easily lower the amount of time the lights were on with a few taps on my phone. Thanks to my timers. Easy to grow, low light plants certainly make the path to planted shrimp tank success much easier than trying to grow more demanding plants. I always tell folks that start off easy and find some success. Then add on to that success with your hopes, wants, and dreams, using what you've learned having that success the easy way. So basically, if you start off trying to do hard stuff and it all flops for you and it sucks, then you're not going to like shrimp tanks. Now, if you start off easy, have the easiest path to success possible, then you're going to like shrimping and it's going to be better for you. So I hope that by sharing my experiences, I was able to help someone out. If you see anything you like in this video, everything I have to offer is available on my website, markshellyaquatics.com. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.